Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Monday, May 3rd, 2021. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Here we go. Space weather news right now. Our solar wind speeds are slightly elevated to 433.8 kilometers per second with a density of 3.3. Now, we are currently in the midst of a solar wind stream right now, and that would mean the possibility for some minor G1 storm, as NOAA is expecting somewhere in the 500 kilometers per second solar wind speeds, and this could spark a minor class, a G1 class geomagnetic storm. So nothing really to worry about when we're talking about such low stats when it comes to geomagnetic activity. Well, we're blank, and this is the really. Hold on a second. Sorry, I had to check on the dog, make sure he was all right. But anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, spotless day. Today is day number 1 without sunspots. Now, I know you guys see it in the southern region, just beyond the eastern limb. There is a very bright region of what appears to be sunspot activity. We'll check it out a little bit closer when we go to our website, thegrandsolarminimum.com. But wanted to look at the total days of sunspots for 2021, or days without sunspots. We are sitting at 42 days without sunspots here so far in 2021. So we're not even at the midway point of the year yet, and we are already seeing just as much, if not more, spotless days in 2021 compared to 2010. That's 11 years ago. That was also the exiting year from the bottom of solar minimum. So, and we saw really cold winters, just like we had in 2020 and 21, like we did in 2010. So we'll see. We'll continue to monitor. So far, this has been a pretty weak solar minimum in this current cycle as we exited 24 heading into 25. And still, in my opinion, we're still seeing solar minimum conditions. When you look at the cosmic radiation dosage rate of 9.6%, that is within the parameters of 9.6, 9.5 to about 11.5. That's as high as I saw it on the dosage rate for cosmic rays during this current solar minimum. That's substantially high, really high. 9.6 is still very high for cosmic radiation dosage rates, anyway, in the atmosphere. These are still solar minimum dosage rates. So we are still dealing with high amounts of highly charged particles in our atmosphere on a daily basis, still. That only means one thing. That means our magnetosphere is still weak. We're supposed to be ticking up towards a max, and that takes time, just like it took time for this to head down to the bottom of this current solar minimum. So I think this solar cycle is being stubborn. We are already 42 spotless days for 2021. And for a year that's supposed to be exiting solar minimum conditions and starting the uptick, if you all remember, in 2010 we had 51 for the entire year. We're already at 42. KPN-C at 1 with a 24-hour max of a 2. No visible coronal hole right now is Earth facing. Maybe a slight, small coronal hole Earth facing last minute, but nothing that would prompt my alertness for a strong to or a moderate to strong earthquake at this time, if any at all. Probably just going to look at stuff in the 4s and the 5s here in the next couple of days. TCI has dropped 6.4. KP-indices, we went over 1 right now with a 24-hour max of 2. So we are not seeing any indication right now of a G1 storm. Let's go over to the grandsolarminimum.com and we'll check out. I think we will. Yep. Alrighty. So just wanted to check out a couple more space weather stats on what we've seen on KP indices over the past couple of hours. Bear with me, folks. Well then, I'm not going to wait around for this much longer. Here we go, finally. Alright, so let's go ahead and check out what we got going here at the grandsolarminimum.com. Our space weather stats, very low action here, no solar flares, minor A class. KP indices have been on the decline since May 2nd. And this is the big one that I wanted to show you. Ooh, big one here in the northern part of the star here. Ooh, that's several days away, but that's a very, very, very bright active region. That, folks, could be the next sunspot. And as we look at this image, this one down here in the southern region, let's zoom this in real quick. This one in the southern region, to me, is a lot weaker than what it first appeared last week when we talked about it, when it was beyond or behind the eastern limb. Negative 90 is where the eastern limb begins, so this is everything that's past that is Earth facing. This sunspot right here is in the northern part of our star, and right now at this time it is not affecting us because we are well behind the 90-degree mark. Now this will take roughly between anywhere 2 to 4 days to travel to the eastern limb. And if this continues to fizzle out as it appears it's doing, then we could have at least 7 to 8 days without sunspots. Now, you can't rule out the spontaneous ones that we see that happen to appear as it's almost Earth facing. So I'm not saying it's not possible, but conditions are favorable once again for minimum conditions from our star. Now, I will say that our spotless day streaks have been growing shorter, I should say. Those shorter streaks are piling up as of lately. So I'm not here saying that we're not seeing any sign of life at all from the sun, but I'm still trying to point out that these conditions are still minimum and at best just a slight uptick from where we were just a year ago in this part of the cycle in the solar minimum. And speaking of solar minimum related topics, I found this article very interesting. Venus's ionosphere undergoes puzzling changes over the 11-year solar cycle. A new study published today in Geophysical Research Letters confirms that Venus' upper atmosphere undergoes puzzling changes over the sun's 11-year activity cycle. The scientists studied data provided by the Parker Solar Probe's first direct measurement of Venus's atmosphere in nearly 30 years. During the 7 minutes around, the closest approach of one of its scientific instruments detected low-frequency radio emission of a type naturally generated by planetary ionospheres. By measuring the frequency of this emission, we can directly calculate the density of the ionosphere around Parker, finding it to be far less dense than previous missions have encountered. This supports the theory that the ionosphere of Venus varies substantially over the 11-year solar cycle. Let's check out the sound clip here for the radio waves that they picked up as Parker was making its pass by Venus. Boy, what a time to be alive, folks. Check this out. And here's its closest approach to the ionosphere, coming up right here. Tell me that doesn't sound supercharged. And as soon as they get out of the ionosphere, it's back to the low rumble. So, very fascinating stuff indeed there, Barkova. Barkova approves of this NASA video here. But, again, so much that we are learning from this Parker mission. and not just about the sun, but everything around it, and how the sun affects other planets in our solar system. So I think many of you that follow this channel already know that the sun just doesn't affect the Earth. Obviously, it affects every planet in the solar system. And again, more proof and more research out there that is confirming. Now, this is from the horse's mouth, if you ask me. When you're talking about where's the source of this data, and it comes from Parker. And what Parker is doing right now is relevant and very credible. But here's more proof of the sun's influence on the planets in the solar system. And I think the biggest argument that we have on this channel is the argument that man controls how bad climate change gets and how bad it doesn't get. In other words, man influences the climate more than the sun does. In fact, a lot of these people tell us that the sun barely does anything because of how small of a drop in TSI. So there's no way that that little drop in TSI could amount to anything. And I'm here to tell you, folks, this is a very complex topic, but absolutely indeed, that slight little drop in TSI can account for a lot of things. And that also means weakening magnetosphere, which that will allow more cosmic radiation, more highly charged particles. Look, we used to deny, or not we, but they used to deny, AGW used to deny these highly charged particles that were entering our atmosphere. Well, now new research and papers have proven it. So now they don't talk it down as much anymore. They've kind of given the credit that, okay, we get cosmic rays, cosmic radiation because magnetosphere is weak. And that's the thing. This topic of grand solar minimum is proven through research like this, through special assignments that Parker Solar Probe is studying the sun like no other probe has ever done. And along the way, let's catch a little bit of Venus as well. We are alive in some pretty amazing times. That's all I gotta say. But I am very pleased to see more and more information. And thanks to watchers, by the way, for posting this. They've been posting a lot of new research that confirms what's happening, solar activity influencing, not just climate, but ionospheres as well. More proof. And to me, when we look at the old data talking about melting glaciers, and I saw an article a couple days ago about melting glaciers that are fearing these glacier lakes just to flood everyone out and kill people off. Just straight up fear porn. And I felt like they were basing this information off of data from during a slight warming period, a slight warming trend that we saw from around 89 through 2000, say 2015, somewhere in that vicinity. But they're failing to look at the data recently, especially the last couple of years. Antarctica continues with the record ice growth above average, above what it usually is at this time of the year. We've also had reports in parts of Australia that we've already seen winter temperatures that are 2 months early. And it just feels like every year we hear, oh, it's a month early, it's a month and a half early, now it's 2 months early. Each year we get a report from the Southern Hemisphere talking about colder, earlier winters. And this all lines up with the solar cycles and what's happening right now. And yes, La Nina is totally affecting global temps right now. And we'll get into that in a little bit as well. Speaking of global temps, let's talk about UK records coldest April since 1922 and frostiest since 1960. Now, we covered the 1960 part of this already once, but this is updated. The Met Office has confirmed that last month was the UK's coldest April since April of 1922. The chilly weather was accompanied by air and ground frost, making the country record its frostiest April since 1960, when precise records keeping began at that time. Despite the cold and frost, much of the country also basked in their sunniest April on record. I was reading this, guys. First of all, chilliest April since 99 years. Okay. And then this was what really concerned me the most, is that they show a percentage or a percentage of sunlight. For instance, the UK has experienced its second sunniest April on record with 218.8 hours. So that means without clouds, the sun was shining. The country has seen 48% more sunshine hours than April's average figure. All UK countries saw at least 40% more sunshine than the long-term average. Same thing happened for Scotland and Wales. They were experiencing anywhere between 57% and 45%. Now, what is wrong with this picture? There was more hours of sunlight, which we all know heats things up. We know that. You sit in the sunlight on a 45-degree day, you're still going to feel warm in the sunlight directly. Here we have the chilliest April on record in 99 years. And we had the most sunshine exposure. How does that add up? How does that not incorporate warmer temperatures because we have more sunshine than usual? I thought all the CO2 greenhouse gases were trapping the heat. If that's the case, we had more sunshine. Our parts per million is still up at 416 parts per million, but our global temperatures dropped again. In places like UK has seen their coldest April in 100 years, just about. Something to think about, folks. Something to think about. Destructive hail and tornadoes slammed southern U.S., causing billions of dollars worth of damage. Now, this was horrible. This happened in Texas. This is a little bit old. This is from April 30th. But this is when the severe weather, I think, really started getting bad. And it's continuing tonight. I've got more to report. But severe hailstorms and tornadoes pounded the southern U.S. on Wednesday and Thursday, April 28th and 29th, 2021, leaving a trail of destruction. As a result, more than 28,000 customers were without power in Texas alone. Damages across the region amounted to $1 billion. And you're asking yourself, what? Yeah, $1 billion because of the size of the hail. Look at this, guys. Tennis ball size. We had tennis size. We had baseball. And then, in some spots, now I saw it on social media. I'm not seeing it in the Watchers report. They're showing a 3-inch in diameter hailstone. There was a report. Here it is. This supposedly is 5 inches in diameter. This was big enough to damage a roof and shot right through the ceiling. Again, this was a 5-inch diameter hailstone that fell in the sky. Not normal. This article is reporting at least 4 inches. That's large, guys. Usually 2.5, 3.5 is really big. Tennis ball size to baseball to softball size hail. That's pretty big. 4 inches, that's being reported here at the Watchers. And I've seen reports of 5 inches as well in parts of Texas. Now, here we have not just the hail. Usually when you have hail that big, and here's a time that this is absolutely gorgeous, but terrifying at the same time. And you saw that green, that coloration, and that's also another indication of highly charged particles in the atmosphere. So some pretty wicked weather down in the south right now beyond. In fact, we're still dealing with it. Yesterday, in fact, Sunday, A tornado was intercepted by Reed Timmer's Dominator drone just west of Jena, Louisiana, 1750 local time on May 2nd, 2021. A tornado outbreak unfolded after across the Mississippi, including a tornado that just passed through Tupelo, Mississippi area with a tornado emergency. The outbreak unfolded at the nose of the potent elevated mixed layer. Speaking to friends in Tupelo, they say it looks like it hit their downtown offices. Lots of damage. Let's check this out real quick. Lots of tornadoes here in the deep south, southwestern area, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. Again, part of GSM also incorporates lower level clouds. Those are more common during a GSM. So, that gives us more chance for possible rotation as well when we have these systems interacting. Severe thunderstorms and flooding in parts of the central U.S. as well. A quasi-stationary front extending from the northeast to the upper Midwest, then to the southwest, will move slowly to the Ohio Valley, roughly southwestward to the lower Mississippi Valley by Tuesday, the evening of May 4th. And may the 4th be with you, by the way. Additionally, upper-level impulses will move eastward ahead of the boundary in the warm sector, moving to the mid-Atlantic through Tuesday. Multiple days of severe thunderstorms and heavy rain will be associated with this system, from the central plains to the lower Mississippi Valley into the parts of the Ohio Valley, also heading into the southeast through Tuesday as well. Here you can see on the map, NOAA's expecting really a lot of it going up the Mississippi into the Ohio Valley, the strongest being in southern Illinois, southern Indiana, parts of Missouri and Arkansas as well, and maybe the far eastern part of Oklahoma. A lot of us have pretty average chance of severe weather across the Midwest, into the Ohio Valley, across the southeast, and thankfully low chances in Mississippi and Louisiana. Get some time to recover, but again, Georgia, watch out, Atlanta, that we're already experiencing enough severe weather as we speak. And speaking of which, tornado outbreak leaves trail of damage across Mississippi. So it went from the west, Texas, Louisiana. Nearly 100,000 Mississippi residents were under a tornado emergency on Sunday night. This was following what happened in Louisiana. So into the day, into the night, this system continued to produce tornadoes. There is some image of it there. Shortly before 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time, National Weather Service issued a dire warning for the city of Tupelo, calling the situation particularly dangerous and life-threatening as a confirmed tornado charged toward the city. That was confirmed at 9:52. These folks here are going through the rubble, the losses, everything pretty much ruined. Strong, severe thunderstorms moving across Sunday. That didn't stop today. Unfortunately, one dead after a tornado touches down in the Atlanta area, and severe weather barrels through the southeast of the United States. So we are seeing a lot of active weather across the south, and I can show you why in the GFS. Right now, the southwest, the southern parts, the southeast, that's really the only areas we're seeing the real heat at this time to fuel some of these storms as well. I'm a little concerned that the prediction that is slowly coming out into the mainstream media now about this summer. And let's take a look at this. So they think in the northwest things will get a little bit hotter. The drought will continue across the Rockies, which I disagree, but let's hope not. Matt, I know you have enough dry conditions out there as it is. Southwest already in a bad drought right now, and AccuWeather's calling for more dry, hot weather. Fires. Fortunately, or unfortunately, I should say, it'll be wet later in the summer, which to me is that's expected. That's about when the rain season starts up in the southwest. So, yeah, good call. Anyway, sorry. I do like AccuWeather. They're not too bad. Hot and dry across the west, and then cooler on the coast here. California, Washington, Oregon, a little bit cooler on the coast. Then we have over here in the east, the northern plains states, the Great Lakes, and the Northeast. How about that? Now, why am I saying this? Look at what we're expecting for moisture for this summer, especially across the northern plains, the Great Lakes, and the Northeast. Now, I've also included the Northwest, and technically it does look like it's going to be cooler in parts of the Northwest, but they think it's going to get a little warmer for most inland going away from the Pacific there in the Northwest. We'll see. Now, you're saying, well, this is just a moisture forecast. And they are claiming in the video, on this article, that we will see above average temperatures throughout the United States, everywhere. But folks, I think we all know what happens when we see a lot of rain, we see a lot of cloud coverage, we have the moisture, and those two things, folks, bring the temperatures down. I've showed you on our GFS outlooks how a storm will go across the United States. It'll be warm in a 50-mile radius outside that storm circle, but 10 to 15 degrees cooler because there's a pretty intense rain event or snow event happening. So what they're doing is they're kind of covering their butts a little bit here. I think this is a slight admission that we could see a cooler summer. I could be wrong. They talk about here as well the average days of 90s in the summer. In 2020, for instance, we had 14 in Boston. That's normal. Predicted was 13 to 18 for this year. So they're not really, they're saying we're going to have more days in the 90s in Boston. Maybe. New York City, 20 days in 2020. Normal is 17. They're predicting 16 to 21 this year. Philadelphia was above their normal. They're predicting above normal again this year, 2021. And D.C. hit 46 days with 90-degree weather. They were also above normal, and they are predicted to go between 42 and 57. Or 47, I apologize. Again, we do have some warmer weather on the way, but I still see a stubborn pattern in place as well. And again, I'm not saying we're not going to see that summer heat. It is going to happen. We're going to have hot days. We're going to have heat waves in parts of the United States. But I've always said this. I feel like that the Northeast, the Great Lakes regions, and the Northern Plains being Minnesota and Wisconsin, and then your Great Lakes, Ohio, Michigan, the northeastern parts of Ohio, Erie, PA region, and of course western New York, and into the Northeast. I feel like those regions could see a little bit cooler summer. So when I see a forecast map for moisture that looks like this, I have to associate that with cooling because I know what cloud coverage and moisture does. It brings the temperature down. Now, I know we just talked about it in the UK where they had more sunshine in the UK, but temperatures were cold. Where I was going with that is that we are seeing our atmosphere dropping dramatically in temperature. And it shows when we show you what is going on in UAH and the global temps. See, that's atmospheric. If your sunshine goes up and temperatures on the surface are still below average, that's atmospheric. That means that cold air that has been building up for the last 3 years during solar minimums is no longer being contained in the upper part of the atmosphere. And this is proof, I believe, that we are starting to see the beginning of a cooling trend starting now going through 2053, just like Valentina Zarkova has mentioned in her papers. So, it's only year one, but again, I've been talking about this since January, that I believe these regions will be cooler, And for AccuWeather to come out, and they're pretty close on their forecasting, on the precipitation stuff anyway. So for AccuWeather to come out and really emphasize the dark greens across the Northeast, Great Lakes regions, the eastern part of the northern plains. The dogs are also upset about the cooler weather. They like to be outside in the sunshine. But we shall see. Hey, get her out of here. All right, so let's go talk about temperatures real quick before we show off our GFS outlook. Once again, for the second month in a row, we are recording temperatures below baseline. Glad I didn't swear. Anyway, we are seeing temperatures below baseline for 2 months in a row now. And what does that mean, you say? Well, you know that talk about how we're in a climate crisis and that we're at that 1.5 degrees Celsius mark above baseline, and that if we get to 2 degrees above baseline, we're catastrophic, point of no return, hot house climate, jungle-like atmosphere, all that stuff. Well, that's not happening. In fact, we are seeing something quite the opposite. And in the last 4 years, we haven't seen a drop below baseline until now, in the last 4 years. The significance of this drop below baseline, folks, is how fast it happened. All right. As you guys can see here, this is roughly right around the 2016. We peaked at, I think it was 0.86 above baseline. That was warm. I'll give you that. But notice how we dropped 1, 2 months, 3 months, and then kind of stayed back and forth for a couple of years. Kind of went back up and then went back down. We're stepping down. Then we dropped down to around baseline in late 2017 going into 18. All right, and then we stepped back up slowly, back up here, and we peaked a little bit here in 2019, and then we started to drop again. And then just in the last 5 months. All right, show me where else. I mean, we've seen drastic drops from the peaks. But then as it got to a certain point, it leveled out and went back and forth and stayed, minimal drop. These temperatures here have dropped like a rock. And this indication to me, the trend is quite clear. It will continue in this direction. Maybe possibly further into the summer. Maybe we'll see a slight rise above baseline for the summer, July and August, before watching it step off again by the time we get to the fall. Part of the reason why I think that could happen is a lot to do with ENSO, and our good friend across the pond in the UK, David Birch, is also watching this. ENSO remains neutral. I asked him the other day, I said, what do you think the possibility of conditions of ENSO staying below the threshold of an El Nino or dropping to a La Nina, but then shifting back into a La Nina? So basically skipping the El Nino part and going back to La Nina. And apparently he doesn't think I'm that far-fetched from the truth. So again, interesting enough, if that continues, we're seeing the effects right now of La Nina. That took a few months. And if we go through that again, have a neutral summer. Remember, the last El Nino was moderate. We had a Modaki to a moderate El Nino, and it did raise temperatures in 19. You can see that here on the UAH. But look at how far it's dropped during the La Nina. And I'm just I'm just putting it out there. The lower the solar activity. Now, we could see a slight comeback in the years to come, possibly back into this region here where my tip of my arrow is. But after 2025, you would have to believe, once again, we would start to see this curve even further down. Look, I'm just saying, you see where the peak stops, and then you see where now we are starting to see no more increase of the pattern. We are starting to see this line head down. How far is it going to continue is the question. Thank you, Wendy, very, very much for the donation. Much appreciated. As always, we are subscriber supported. And folks, everything goes back into this channel. Hopefully we will have a new shirt. I think Mari and I had to put a little comedy on this one. I'm really excited about it. I don't want to tell you what it is because I think it's, I just think it's a clever little shirt, and I think you guys will freaking love it. So hopefully we'll have that ready for you here in the near future. But thank you again, Wendy, for the donation. But back to what I'm talking about here with these temperatures. We've never seen the temperature drop so drastically since 2020. I mean, think about it. We had that peak of around 0.63 in 2020, and everybody was like, whoa, what's going on? Thought we were in solar minimum. Why are the UAH temperatures going up and we're in the bottom of a solar minimum? Think about this. The sun has a delayed effect, and La Nina and El Nino also possess delayed effects on the climate. So when you look at La Nina and lower solar activity both combining on the not so strong side, this is what we could have. A lot more cooling. This is impressive to me. I don't see a scenario where this temperature spikes up above here. Usually we see the temperature stepping up and reaching close to that plateau again, but I think you see it rounding off, and now we are beginning that curve of cooling. I know I'm not trying to cherry pick here. It's easy to do it when you're dropping, so especially when you're below baseline. 2 months in a row, by the way, as we're heading into spring in the northern hemisphere, or actually we're already in spring, we're almost in summer, and the southern hemisphere is seeing winter-like conditions 2 months early. So that's a factor in why we're seeing global temperatures stay below baseline when we're having a much colder start to the winter in the southern hemisphere, and a shaky start to parts of the United States, parts of Europe, parts of the UK. We've seen cold temperatures. We're still seeing snow showers across the mountainous regions. Ridiculous. And we're seeing this every year a little bit later. It's only May 3rd. May 12th is like the extreme. Okay, that's getting a little uncomfortable with the snow. And that has happened a few times. But we're at May 3rd, and we're still seeing snowflakes flying. Mari told me, I think, Wyoming had snowflakes today. I mean, come on, man. May 3rd. All right, so with that said, we'll continue to monitor this. Do I expect temperatures to be up in the month of May? Yes. I don't know how drastic that will be, because the GFS to me still shows a little stubbornness. Let's check out the precipitation part of this forecast first. And then you can pretty much guess, too, by the way, what regions of the U.S. will see cooler temperatures and what won't. It'll be obvious, okay? We're starting off on Tuesday. That's tomorrow. And definitely a rainy day for the Northeast, the Great Lakes, both sides of the Great Lakes. Snow, possible, the Canadian border, United States and Minnesota, right there, Tuesday night. Some snow showers crossing into Minnesota. It's very weak possibility, but here is more of the same of that severe weather popping into the Midwest, into southern regions near the Ohio Valley. We have to watch out for heavy rain down here, and more weather breaking out across the south as well. Parts of, once again, Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia will be in the line again for more storm activity. But then May 5th, everything kind of just it dies down as we are now seeing domination of high pressure moving across the northern plains, Great Lakes, and the Northeast. Cooler areas that I suspect would be cooler this year. and that is calming things down a little bit. Low pressure tries to develop in the southeast, but moves offshore. This is Friday, May 7th. Things kind of quiet for a couple days. High pressure dominating now in the south. When we have high pressure in the south, that means dry conditions. So all that rain is staying in the northeast. We even have chances for snow in the far parts of Maine, unfortunately. This storm here, folks, this could change too. This is still a week out. Well, about 5 days out, the end of this week. This could shift a little bit further back inland and has the makings of a possible nor'easter, folks. The colder air is coming in the northeast. Temperatures will reflect that. High pressure here in the south. And look at all this snow building up in the mountains northwest. Idaho, Montana. On May 8th, folks, we're still talking about snow. More severe weather possible for parts of Texas. And then another giant low pressure system building up once again. This system in the northeast, look at that. Good Lord. So on May 8th, Saturday, this will be snow for some of you Mainers out there. Snow showers, probably no accumulation associated with this, but rain moving into the northeast. Huge low pressure system across the United States, in the heart of the United States, Missouri, Illinois state line. Huge low pressure system. Lots of snow in Montana still. More rain to the Ohio Valley, moving into the northeast by Monday, May 10th. More severe weather across the south. That's right. GFS is saying that we're probably going to see more snow for Denver, all right, by May 10th. Denver. By the way, are you paying attention to the Ohio Valley in the northeast, how much rain we're getting? I wonder what that's going to do to their temperatures. There's snow on the Canadian-U.S. border here on this last system that's trying to make its way through Tuesday, May 11th. Here's where we usually can't say this is reliable, but GFS tries to give us an idea of what to expect. And we have what we called a tease and freeze. Mari started saying tease and freeze. Joe Bastardi said ridge and fridge. This is a tease and freeze. Starting here on May 11th, we will have a buildup on the East Coast right here on this system that will bring temperatures pretty high. In fact, we're going to see temperatures in the 80s along the East Coast, and I'll show you that in a minute. And after this storm moves through, high pressure dominates. That's right, that was snow showers, folks, in parts of Massachusetts. That cold air comes in behind it, dries everything out. High pressure dominates again. Cooler weather prevails. And then another rain. I mean, look at the size of these storm systems, folks. And where are they coming in at? Northern Plains, Great Lakes regions, Northeast, and, the Ohio Valley. How bad does this affect temperatures? I'll show you. Here we are. This is Monday, May 3rd. Very nice across the south and in the East Coast, in the Carolinas, into Virginia. Very nice weather. But you see that cooler air trying to push down, and look where all the 40s and 50s are in the Northeast. The Great Lakes region, Northeast Ohio, Michigan, 56 for a high on Thursday, May 6th. 37 overnight in Wisconsin, 53 in parts of northern Minnesota. You look, even in parts where Matt is, 61 degrees. That's no good for planting. That's we need warmer temperatures than this, folks. May 7th, still 40s and 50s overnight for most of us. Even the south gets a little break from the heat, and it gets chilly again by May 8th in the deep south before they see a big warm up here. 90s across central Texas. Look at that. Freezing temperatures in the northwest of May 9th, Sunday. Heat building up in the south. This is where I was showing you the low pressure system that was carrying two systems into the northeast. This is our tease and freeze. Look at that. Nicely done for us here in the northeast. We haven't seen temperatures like that yet in 2021. We're calling for 84 degrees in the capital region. That's awesome. New York City also could be in the mid 80s as well. Philadelphia in the lower 80s. Beautiful kind of weather here. But look at that cold front right behind it. And see this pocket right here? See this pocket right here? The temperature difference. Let's look at the 18Z May 12th on the moisture. And I bet you that we will see heavy rain right here. Let's check it out. And I did not prepare for this. May 12th. Here we go. Nope, I was wrong. So, surprisingly, I was wrong. Yeah, so a weird anomaly, if anything, on temperatures. But lots of moisture moving through that area. All right, let's check it out May 13th, right? That right there has got to be an indication of moisture, right? Right? Come on, don't let me down, map. Oh, yeah. That's it. So, cooler temperatures, more moisture. You can see they match up with the temperature maps in some spots. But stuff like this, when it's that widespread and you've got warmer temperatures surrounding you, that usually means you've got a pretty significant amount of moisture that has fallen, more cloud coverage, so we're not quite getting the heat. But even so, guys, I mean, come on, May 13th, 73 degrees in central Kansas on May 13th. I know this ain't normal. We got plenty of heat in the southeast, for sure. This takes us all the way to the 14th. This doesn't go out as far. Let me see if I can get this to update here. Let's check it out. So cooler temperatures. May 4th, May 6th. Here's that tease and freeze. And why I say freeze is after the 12th, we see chillier temperatures once again overnight. 84 on the 12th of May and 54 for a high on that Friday. You talk about swings, folks. These temperatures warming up here in the central part of our, we need way more of these days and higher. We've had enough rain, or we're getting enough rain right now. Extreme droughts in this area, unfortunately. This area has gotten some moisture. This area is definitely riddled with moisture, along with the south and the southeast. So from about here all the way up, we have no issues with moisture for the most part. We are lacking temperatures, and that is not going to help the grow season whatsoever. So we will continue to monitor the current situation as we continue on into the warmer months of the summer. This is early, but nonetheless, let's take a look at our local radar, what is going on right now over at Mike's weather page. We've had to watch some severe weather already flow through tonight, and looks like right now not much happening. It's all moving to the southeast as we speak. Zoom in. It started earlier. Atlanta is now going through wave number 2. So right now it does not appear as strong as it was earlier, which is good news, but we got more storms heading out here in Texas, near Dallas, just west of Dallas right now as we speak. Fort Worth, you just got out of this. Parts of Oklahoma also being affected by a line of storms now moving eastward. So lots more weather to talk about. Guys, we'll try to be on a little bit more this week because there is a lot to talk about. There's a couple things I wanted to mention tonight. I didn't quite have the time, so I will try to do a couple more of these broadcasts, continue to give you grand solar minimum updates because, folks, we are starting to see this in full swing. Like I said, the tease and freeze. When you have temperatures 84 degrees one day and then 54 for the high the next, and I'm talking about right here, May 12th, Wednesday, 84 in the capital region, in this region right here. And then we move to, and I'll put the arrow, watch this area, 84. We shouldn't be going backwards. Here we are by the 14th of May. 57 in Albany. So that means where I'm at, it's going to be a little chillier than that. May 14th, the middle of May. And we've had a little bit more nicer days in April in the Northeast than we've had last year. But for the most part, it still has a crisp, cool chill to the air. And in my opinion, it's not quite as warm as we had hoped by this time. So I can see where the struggles are going to be right now. Mainstream media also slowly and quietly trying to admit that we could see some cooler regions this summer as well if they're predicting that much moisture. Want to say hello to a few folks out there. Again, thanks to Wendy for the donation. We appreciate it very much. Matt Bros, always a pleasure. Veg, sorry for my dog putting you in a timeout. I guess she thought you were being bad. I don't know. Hello, Jesse Vorwald. Good to see you as well. Our friend from Wisconsin. Lots of new faces in here to me anyway. Richard, good to have you as well. Very enthusiastic. I already said that. Shirley Davis, good to have you around as always. And folks, again, we appreciate Tug Talk. Good to see you in the chat as well. I also saw Per Stramberg in here as well. I think coolingnews.com is his website. We had Per on a while back in an interview. Mari and I are going to try to also in the coming weeks get back into doing interviews with more scientists and more evidence that supports the cooling that is going on in our globe right now, just because of where we are in solar cycles. Nothing else. That's it. We're not taking credit for it. This is all done by the sun. So it's going to do it for us tonight, folks. Thank you for tuning in to another Grand Solar Minimum News update. Until next time, we will talk soon, folks. Take care.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.